Bye for now. Oh. Whoops. Sweet. Holy shit, it is so windy outside. My universe. Ba-da-da-da. My universe. Oh, my mouse isn't plugged in. That's something to fix, right? I'm hoping it doesn't update. Doesn't send another update. Well, time for a double notification again. My universe. Do 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 do. My universe. God, this is, why does this do this to me? Delete forever.
Welcome back, everybody. My name is Nick. This is Swiftful Thinking. This channel is all about learning Swift and SwiftUI. And in this playlist, we're going to add on to that.
That was fast.
So windy.
How did it go?
Good.
Good?
She was really nice.
Oh.
Oh, I really wanted it for my work because medium, it's too tight for her. Like,
Wow.
oh my
Good for our clothes.
god.
We need a wind power generator here, baby. Wind energy. We need it. 50? Oh, perfect.
Learn how to use GIT and source control. Now, this is something that is absolutely a requirement and crucial for all software engineers. This is something that when I was learning to code, I put off for a long time. I didn't think I really needed it.
Are you
And that's
the shirts
primarily
girl? She asking me, "Are you the shirts girl?"
Hey, the shirts girl.
And I said, "Yes." And yeah, and she said that she needed for work,
Mm.
and it's perfect, perfect. Thank you so much, she said.
Mm.
I said, yeah, it's already washed, but if you wanted to wash, yeah, you obviously you can do that. But it's pretty new. I used just 2 or 3 times only.
Mm.
She said, thank you, and there you go. And okay, thank you. Have a good day.
Awesome. So easy.
Yeah, so easy.
You gonna keep going now with that?
Yep.
So easy. Now that you know that.
But another woman, she's
because when you're learning to code, you're mostly just working in projects by yourself, right? You know all of the code changes that are happening, and you know how to save your project, and you're probably not working on a big project over the course of several years.
also said the Sydney, it's with cyclone.
Sydney has cyclone?
That's why it's windy.
Oh. Damn, I hope we don't get more of that.
But as you start getting into a more professional environment, the requirement of source control becomes more and more important. First and foremost, source control gives us a backup. We can save all of our code to the cloud, to GitHub, and this way, if something were to happen to our computer or we were to write some bad code, we could always revert our code base to the previously saved version. So using source control at a bare minimum gives us a backup, which is nice to have. But above that, it also helps us work asynchronously with other engineers. So you could imagine a situation where you're building some feature in your app and somebody else is building another feature in your app. Those two features might be touching the same files of code, they might not. At some point in the future, we're going to want to take both of those features and merge them into the same code base. So when we have our project under version control, it's going to track all of the changes that are happening to our code base. It's going to know this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. This file was added, this file was deleted, this line was changed. And this way, when we go to merge our feature or merge our changes with other people's code, version control knows and can identify to us all of the differences between your version and the other version. And this way, when we go to actually merge our code, version control is going to point out the discrepancies between the two versions. It will tell us there's a conflict here and we need to resolve it in order to merge these two versions of the code base. So even if you haven't used
What happened?
This one is so
Oh. Heard that.
used version control before, it is absolutely a requirement. I will never build a project without using version control again, and I recommend you don't either. So this playlist is going to get you up to speed, everything you need to know, how to use Git, how to use source control, how to use GitHub. And at the end of the playlist, we'll wrap up with how do big teams really use this in a professional environment. Before we go and jump into the code, there's a couple things that I want to cover about what we're going to go over in this series. So in this series, I'm going to assume that you've never used Git before. We'll start with the basics, and then we're going to focus on getting you up to speed and getting you to be an expert.
I got a comment 2 hours ago on something here. What's this? Someone said something to me. Oh. What? The random.
Jeez. Now it's almost plain.
Almost clean. Oh, dusted. Nice.
Do you
For it as
want me
fast
to
as
open? Or
Yeah, that's fine. Whatever you want. There's all over your face now. And hair. The stuff. You too. No, more. Yep. Gone.
possible.
uh,
We're going to use GitHub for our remote repository. We're going to talk a little bit about that in the next video. But when we are using version control, we have this concept of
The V2.
remote and
You're
local.
screen, my love.
Who's calling me? Is this the same company? Do they really want to talk to me that badly? See, this is why I hate contacting people.
What?
They're trying so hard to sell a car. I hate that. Like, if I want the car, I'm gonna go to the car. They called me twice today and texted me twice already. That's why I don't like to go. Because they hound you. Like, hound, like, buy it, buy it, buy it, buy it, buy it, buy it. Like that.
But you needed to see too the car.
What do you mean? No, like this one, it's too far. It's,
I get it that you hate it. That people are calling, but it's their job, basically. So you can't like you just say I just came here to just see them. That's it, and just like don't calling me like twice or like that because I'm just.
yeah, but I just don't like their ethics, like the way they do it.
But it, that is their job.
It's not their job to do like that.
It is.
Go to Tesla then again and experience how they should sell car. That is how one phone call should be enough. You know? Why why are they giving two phone calls, two texts? Maybe you have to go and experience it or something. You don't believe me.
I get the feeling. I get it.
It's not their job to be like that.
But they're desperate.
Why are they desperate? They're not desperate. They just money grubbing, hungry money people that just like to scam you. That's the part that I don't like.
I'm not gonna use it anyway.
Well, what am I gonna do with this? I'm gonna frame it on the wall. Gift from your dad. Wow.
Where?
repositories. Think of it as the remote version of your code and the local version of your code. So when we are writing code on our computer, it saves locally, and then eventually we want to push it up just like we were to put photos or something on the internet and put it into the cloud. We're going to do the same thing with our code base. We're going to save our changes locally and then push them up to the cloud, in which we're going to use GitHub as our hosting service to host our repo on the internet. So we're going to be pushing to GitHub and pulling our changes back down from GitHub. Now, every time we perform pushes and pulls and any kind of Git operations, we're going to need some software to perform these operations. So in this series, we're going to focus primarily on using Xcode to do all these operations. And we're also going to use a third-party GUI, a Git user interface called Git Kraken. I'm going to talk a lot more about that in the next video, but these are just two tools to do all of our Git commands. The old school way of doing Git is through the terminal, actually opening up the terminal on your computer and writing those hardcore commands. But I'm not going to cover that in this video, frankly, because I never use that on a day-to-day basis. And ultimately, I think teaching that is going to slow you guys down to becoming experts at this. If anything, I would recommend learning how to use Git first and then learning maybe how to use it in the terminal later. Because if anything, using it in the terminal is going to be harder than using literally a user interface for doing the same thing. So this series, we're going to use GitHub, we're going to use Xcode, and we're going to use Git Kraken. I'm going to talk a whole lot about those three in the next video. Just to call out a couple of things that we're going to cover in this playlist, we're going to cover commits, staging, unstaging, stashing, pushing, pulling, cherry picking, merging, rebasing, pull requests. We're going to talk about code owners, git ignore files, readmes on GitHub, how to perform releases on GitHub, a bunch of other things. And then we're going to wrap up the course learning how to use Git flow, basically how to use version control in a professional environment. I am so excited to take you guys on this journey because I remember not that long ago not knowing this, and I remember how difficult it was to learn. And once you learn this and get comfortable and become pretty good at it, I promise you it will 10x your productivity as a software engineer. Even though it doesn't actually.
Cuts more and learn, but you'll absolutely never go back. That's vital. Yeah, I thought I need to learn this. Whoa, what is this new badge thing you got here going? Leaderboard. Did they just add this? Oh no, I just realized you have an alien like image or Nosferatu or something. The alien for your uh picture? Wait a second. Wasn't there something recently? There's some sort of this week at YouTube. There's some new stuff. New gifts. Wait, that was 2 weeks ago, huh? What's this week's one? Oh yeah, leaderboard. This thing. Alien. I think maybe I'm #1 fan. Oh yeah. Well, you are at the moment. You've got 75 XP apparently. How? It's a new thing, definitely new.
I'm Laura. A program manager working on our product team here at YouTube and the producer of Creator, introducing deeper audience insights to help creators understand their viewers beyond just new and returning. Creators, those who've been watching occasionally for a while.
Okay, don't need that. Leaderboard, here you go.
A few weeks ago, we talked about an experimental leaderboard for top fans of classic and immersive live streams. If you missed it, viewers earn points for engaging with streams,
that's fair.
and the goal is to reward fan engagement and strengthen community interaction during live streams. There's a cap on the number of points that can be earned from live chat messages. Also, depending on
So you get points for live chat messages, apparently.
the user's country or region, the daily and weekly purchase limit will vary.
Purchase
We're happy to
limit?
announce that based on positive feedback, we're launching this to all creators. Viewers will be auto-enrolled in the leaderboard and will have the option to opt out in YouTube settings on desktop or mobile.
What is it?
Moving on. In April, we began testing a leaderboard for top fans of classic and immersive. What's up, insiders? I'm Lauren, a program manager If you missed Connor on the channel last week, moving on. Today, viewers of classic and immersive live streams can engage, interact with, and support creators.
Yeah. Wait a sec. Look at this.
By sending a live chat at no cost or purchasing a super chat. Moving on. Today, viewers of classic and immersive live streams can engage, interact with, and support creators by sending a live chat at no cost or purchasing a
Support me with a free chat? What? Okay.
super chat, super sticker, or gift. Creators can identify these viewers' actions in the live chat, but there are no ways to easily identify top contributors based on the aggregate of their actions. We're launching an experiment to celebrate the most engaged fans by showing a leaderboard. Viewers earn points for engaging with streams and compete for the top spot. This new feature rewards fan engagement and strengthens community interaction during live streams. Viewers will see a crown icon at the top of the chat update with the points they earn from engaging with the live stream. When they click on the icon, they'll be taken to the leaderboard to see the top 50 engaged viewers. The top 3 viewers on the leaderboard earn a badge, which appears next to their name when they send messages in chat. Viewers in the experiment will be auto-enrolled into the leaderboard and will have the option to opt out in YouTube settings on desktop or mobile. We'll keep you posted if this expands to more users.
Okay.
What's up?
Interesting.
What's up, insiders? I'm Lauren, a program manager working on our product team here. Moving on. Next,
they added it to everyone
a few weeks
now.
ago, we talked about an experimental leaderboard for top fans of classic and immersive live streams. If you missed it, viewers earn points for engaging with streams, and the goal is to reward fan engagement and strengthen community interaction during live streams. There's a cap on the number of points that can be earned from live chat messages.
Oh my god, they used the lo-fi girl look. No way.
Also, depending on the user's country or region, the daily and weekly purchase limit will vary. We're happy to announce that based on positive feedback, we're launching this to all creators. Viewers will be auto-enrolled in the leaderboard.
Nice, okay. That's cool. Very, very cool. Swap back to GIT.
Affect how good we're writing code, it is significantly going to affect our overall productivity and speed in writing code. Because once you get a good grip, it's going to be very easy to know when to branch, when to merge, when to build a feature, how to merge that feature back in. And once you get into that flow, you will literally move 10 times faster. Before we wrap up, just a quick reminder. Firstly, if you have not hit the subscribe button, please do so. This is free educational content.
Remember back in the day when people thought that subscribers meant more money on YouTube? But it doesn't really.
Everybody, my name is Nick, and this is Swivel Thinking. And in this series,
I mean, I guess it could translate to more, but it doesn't like directly mean more money. but everyone was like, that was the hype train. Like, subscribe, like, and subscribe, comment, please.
We are learning how to use Git and source control. And before we actually can go ahead and use it, we need to do some setup. So this video is going to be all about setting up our project and our accounts so that we can then use it in the rest of the videos in this series. Firstly, we are going to set up a GitHub account. So if you already have a GitHub account, you can skip that part, but I'm going to walk through it just for the people who don't have an account yet.
I think I have one. Let's have a look here. Yeah, I do. Can I change my name? What did I do? Oh, I joined. That was my contribution. Settings. Account. Change username. I haven't done anything, so. Rename to Swift Hacker. Oh. Can I just do that? What, like... Hi!
What did you do with this?
What do you mean?
Pin on.
Pin, yeah. You can't get it off? Oh, hold on. I'm coming. Wait, how do I... What do I... Swift Hacker... I don't know. What should I name myself? check something real quick. Swift Hacker 0. What about that? 0. Swift Hacker 0. Is it fun? Or just Swift Hacker 0? I don't know. Swift Hacker 6? Maybe Swift Hacker, but it's a 5. I don't know. 9? Just Swift Hacker 0. Hackero? I don't like that. I'll do 5 for the Swift Hacker. We're doing Git, Evan. Hello. I'm just changing my username.
Secondly, we're going to connect our GitHub account to Xcode. So after we make that account, we need to make sure our Xcode knows that we're connected to that account so that we can push and pull from GitHub down to Xcode on our local computer. And the third thing we're going to do is set up our Git Kraken account and then connect that to GitHub.
I do Amazon and Uber delivery right now. Working on getting a job as, you know, Swift developer.
So Git Kraken is a third-party service. It is a GUI, a Git user interface, which is basically going to give us a really nice, easy-to-use, friendly UI for working with source control in our project. So in this playlist, we're going to perform all of our Git actions twice, once using Xcode and once using Git Kraken. So if you don't want to use Git Kraken, you don't have to. You can just follow the Xcode part. The third thing we're going to do is set up our Git Kraken account and then connect that to GitHub. So Git Kraken is a third-party service. It is a GUI, a Git user interface, which is basically going to give us a really nice, easy-to-use, friendly UI for working with source control in our project.
Oh, so another person's calling me. Heck. Who would that be? You must be feeling good, huh?
So in this playlist, we're going to perform all of our Git actions twice.
Huh? Yeah, smiling and dancing. Nice, I'm an AI intern right now. Ooh, that's awesome. Oh, thank you, brother. Thank you. Would you mind subscribing as well? I'm trying to get to 1,000 so I can start taking money back from YouTube and quit Uber Eats, get monetized properly from the ads. Thank you so much. That's so awesome. Much appreciated. Any companies you're aiming for being a dev at? At the moment, I don't have any expectations. Not really aiming in particular. I guess my ultimate aim, if I'm gonna say I have an ultimate aim, is to, have apps that I own myself that I've published and that make money without a company. But to get started, I want to, get into a job, um, get some experience as well, and have a paycheck to start off. Oh, the Akari people called me, Bebe. The Akari car, Mazda, the good one, called me. Keep going, dude. Wish you the best of luck. Oh, thank you so much, Nat Nail. I hope I said your name wrong. Right. I hope I said your name wrong. What the? I hope I said it wrong. What? That just came out. The hell? Sorry. That's so funny. Sorry. I want to. Oh man, there's already like a couple parts of the stream I want to make into little clips. That was so funny. I'm like, I'm kind of in the middle of like trying to get a car at the moment, so that's why like I think some people are calling me. I inquired yesterday about a car. So give me just uh let's see. Which car are you getting? You aren't the only. Which car are you getting? What I'm looking at right now is a Mazda CX-3 Akari. It's a top tier, but I'm going for 2015 because I don't need a crazy good car right now. Um, I just need like Akari is top tier, but like back in 2015, like I feel it's better to go for the top tier when it's older. AZC. What the? Holy! Check Amazon for that. It's really expensive. I was looking for it on Amazon, but the reason why I'm looking at this right now, sorry, I'm supposed to be looking at Git, but it's because I'm also selling something at the moment, and I'm trying to like. They've asked me if I can do it for cheaper, but I think I'm just gonna, because it's literally what, $95? Did I pay that? What did I pay for this? Here it is for 72, right? Any projects in your portfolio so far, or mainly just starting? Yes, I do actually have a project. Um, I'll show it to you real quick. One sec. I'll bring it up. I'll bring it up. Thank you both. I think you both subscribed. Thank you so much. That's awesome. We're at 941. The thing doesn't update for some reason. Sometimes it's because it's like a private subscription, so that's why the progress bar doesn't update, but I can do it manually there. Let me open this up and show you real quick the project I have here. Um, where are we? Dev Word S. Whoa, 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 whoa. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Right. So, ooh. Okay, so this is the app I have right now. I have another one, but I'm happy with it, but I'm not happy that I use a lot of AI to make it. But this is a stretch app that I was making. Stretching app. So I think it's here. Yeah, we'll start this up. You'll be able to see what I'm doing here. So yeah, we've got it's not completed yet. It's almost done though. So we're gonna have a different background here, but we're having glass like styling. And then you can choose a stretch type that you want to like for sleeping, for example, knockout or like recovery stretch session. You can see how to use the app properly. And then you can like, for example, say you want to go to sleep, just click on that. An image will come up. It'll show you the stretch. Then you just have to like click, oh, how do you do the stretch? That. And then all you need to do is push the start button. The timer will go, the background will slowly dim as well as you get to the end of the stretch to sort of notify you when you're going to swap to the next stretch. And then it just automatically will go to the next stretch, update the picture. Oh, see that automatically, do you see that? It automatically changed color because it's in the glass mode. So I'm gonna have to change that text there to update as well. But yeah, um, it gets darker as it goes, and then it'll automatically swap to the next one. Um, and then keep going. So just like you don't have to push play or anything like that. And if you go in here, it'll pause the timer. If you want to like get how to do it properly again, go back. It'll resume the timer, and you can just get out there. And at the end, it'll like finish, say congrats, and then you can go and do another stretch session. So it's for like stretching on demand, because you know there's all that scenario where like you want to stretch, but then you're like, you know, like I always have this happen to me. Like I go to get in bed, I'm like, damn, I should actually stretch before sleeping. Then I have to like think, now I gotta like look up a YouTube video to guide me through a stretch session. Well, this will immediately, you can open it up. All the data is gonna be in the app, so you don't have to download anything. And you just push go, choose your stretch session, and then push go, and then you can just follow it up, follow it along. You reset there, and yeah, there's a different one there. Recovery. Each stretch thing has each stretch thing has a different like background and theme. Um, yeah, and then we've got a lot of all the data kind of goes in here. So I know it's not the best way to do this, but it was one of my first apps, and I'm happy with like where it's gone. So yeah, nice UI. Seems like an app I could use. My flexibility sucks right now. Just ran 10 miles recently. Oh, damn. Yeah. Well, feel free to like I'm gonna definitely upload this to the App Store. And I don't know, maybe I can use like test flight or something. I have to look into it, but like feel free to, if you want to join the Discord, which I only just started recently. It's a very new community. But I'm gonna be posting there, like if you want to help me test some of my apps and stuff. So yeah. Let's open back up Git. So this is actually, is that the actual price? 72. Okay. Discord link in description says it. What? Oh wait, in the description. Oh, I see. Okay, sorry, 1 sec. I'll literally post it in the chat right now. Here we go. Sorry, I realized I updated the link in on my channel page, but when I started Discord, like I didn't realize I needed a never expire link, and I have not. I guess I didn't update the like the description one. Whoops. I'll just do that now. Wait, how do we? Oh, here we go. Discord, there we are. Right, so it did not update. There we go. So that should work now. Is tomorrow Thursday? Yeah, it is. Okay. That's better. Oh my god, now Aaron just called me. Sweet, I'm glad it worked. Now who else is calling me? Who? Another number, random number.
One's using Xcode and one's using GitKraken. So if you don't want to use
I bet that's another different dealer.
GitKraken, you don't have to. You can just follow the Xcode part. Although I will leave a link below where you guys can download GitKraken for free and at least use the free version while you're following this playlist. Personally, I highly recommend actually paying for GitKraken. It is something that has saved me thousands of hours and headaches as an engineer. But if you don't know how to use Git yet, you actually are not going to understand just how powerful and important having a GUI is. So my recommendation will be to at least install the free version for now, follow along, and then when we get towards the end of this playlist, you'll be able to make a pretty informed decision on whether or not you actually need to use a third-party GUI. I think the ideal situation would be that Xcode's source control is good enough that we don't need a third-party tool, but unfortunately that is just not the case today. As you guys are going to see, the GitKraken user interface is gorgeous, and it really does become your best friend. So without further ado, let's jump on the computer and set up a GitHub account.
So we have GitHub. Fine with that.
Playlist, and this video is going to be mostly just set up so that we see all courses on this website. The courses here are
Hello,
listed
Jay.
in the best order to watch.
Welcome in. Let's go.
On the homepage, you can.
I haven't heard of GitKraken either. This guy has some really good information. Legendary Git tools. Ooh, that actually looks cool. Does look good. See it in action? Seems good. Pepe, could you film my with water? You more?
Mine with water.
Yeah, my with water.
You mean you want water?
Yeah.
It's wait a minute.
What's the matter? Still coffee. Arigato.
Salut.
Sign up and add your email here if you want to get discounts to upcoming courses. I'm going to be making a paid course soon, and discounts will be pushed to the email chain only. Without further ado, let's get going here.
Git bash for work. I use Azure DevOps instead of GitHub. Like, is that preference, or are you forced to use that, or like I haven't even properly used GitHub before.
Before we get into it, let's first talk about what it is that we're actually doing here. So quickly, I just went on ChatGPT and I said, what is Git in source control? So at a very high
I made this 1 year ago only. I was like, you had ChatGPT?
level, these are
Usually his
techniques
videos are older.
to basically manage code changes in projects. So source control is a system that records changes of files over time. So think about it as you're going to be working on this project, and over time you're going to be making changes, and as you make those changes, source control or version control is literally documenting all those changes. It's like a history of all of the changes of your code base over time. And one way to think about this is in Google Docs. If you ever used a Google Doc, people are always in there constantly changing the data in the Google Doc. And sometimes
Force you DevOps. I'm gonna push my code to my browser. It updates my web application automatically. Is that so like your teammates can see it or something, or
can revert back to past versions. It's sort of like that, where everybody's making changes, and version control or source control, whatever you want to call it, is just tracking all of the changes. So this way we can compare the changes to an old version if we want to. And Git is just a specific type of version control that has become the mainstream source control that almost all developers use. So Git and source control
right?
are not
Okay.
technically the same thing, although they're often used to describe the same thing, because most projects that use source control are actually using Git. So when we are working with Git and source control, we have this concept of remote and local repositories. And it's basically, am I saving my content on my home computer or on the remote repository? You can think about it as the cloud.
Why? So weird. Yeah, they can see my code and review it before it is merged into development. You ever done a hackathon before? A great way to network with others to potentially land a job. You know, I haven't, but I was actually looking into. I wasn't quite looking into it, but I was like interested in doing it. I heard about those. It seemed like a good idea. It seemed fun.
So am I saving it locally or am I saving it remotely? And when we save our code remotely, so we push it up to the cloud or to the internet, we need
But I don't think I'm
somewhere
good enough yet to hackathon. Like I've only been doing it for 6 months, so I'll be it every day pretty much. But still.
to host all of those files. So if you just are using Git on your computer, obviously your computer has a record of all of those changes. But if there's other people on your team, guys, the only way that you guys can have a unified history of all of the changes is if everybody's pushing to the same location in the cloud or on the internet. And to do that, we will use a hosting service to host our remote repository. So the same way that I have a file saved on my computer, I also want to save that.
Highly recommend. Sometimes companies attend larger hackathons. I've done hackathon with people who had limited experience. Oh, really? Okay. Interesting. I'll have a look if see if there's anything in my area that that they do that type of thing. I mean, it would definitely have to be Swift though, because I only study and do Swift coding. So hopefully it's one of those. Maybe Apple has an event here or something. I don't know.
File out on the internet so that I can either re-download later or other people can see it as well. So to host the Git and version control of our project, we're going to use Git. So GitHub is a hub or a website that hosts projects under Git source control. Git and GitHub are not the same thing. GitHub is the hosting service for Git. And I asked ChatGPT, I said, what are alternatives to GitHub? And two really popular ones is GitLab and Bitbucket. So if you don't want to use GitHub, these are probably the top two other alternatives that you can use for hosting your Git on the internet. But GitHub has become by far the most popular. So the first thing that I'm going to have you guys do in the series is create an account on GitHub. Some of you guys probably already have an account, but if you don't, just go to github.com, add in your email address, and create an account. I'm not going to walk through that whole process. It should be pretty seamless. Thousands of people create GitHub accounts a day. It is free. There is premium versions of GitHub, but you're not going to need it for this course. So pause this video, join for free, set that up. Once you set that up, you should see a basic profile set up here. This is
What is this photo of him? I mean, he looks good, but I didn't expect to see that just now.
profile. We're going to talk about how we can make readmes for your profile and how we can add projects to it. But right now, just make sure that you have your account.
iOS developer teaching SwiftUI on YouTube.
You can see your own personal profile, and this way you can start using it. Awesome. So once you have your GitHub account set up, the next thing you want to do is connect GitHub to Xcode. Because
plus, usually there's free food and swag, lol. I believe most hackathons give you a problem to solve, but leave it up to you to use the language you're most comfortable with. Oh, okay. But in hackathons, do you not work with teams, or do you just like... Do you work by yourself? For some reason, I thought it was a team thing. If not, then yeah, I could definitely go and do that and build on my own Mac.
Code is on our local computer, right? And while we're working in our Xcode project, we occasionally are going to want to save and push our files up to GitHub. And we're going to also want to pull them back down and retrieve them from GitHub.
One sec. Oh, jeez. Oh, okay. So that was another calling. Oh, one sec, I got a phone call from my friend. Hello? Hi, I'm just streaming at the moment, so can I call you later? I stream every morning at this time, like 9 to 11, 12-ish. You're on the stream right now, yeah. Well, your voice isn't, but they can hear me talking to you. Alright, I'll call you soon. Alright, bye. Okay. Don't know why, but that reminded me of Rush Hour when Chris Tucker's friend calls him on set, and Jackie's like he's like, oh, I want to talk to Jackie. Like, no, we're working. And then Jackie's like, oh, we are working right now. You sorry? You waste all our film. That was my Jackie Chan accent. So, okay. Generally work in teams, but like if you don't know anyone attending, I'm sure people will welcome you to the team. Oh, that'd be cool. Well, if anyone's... But what if no one's doing Swift there? Well, it's 8 p.m. here. You in Australia? I am in Australia. Yes, I am. How did you know that? Did you like do time calculation?
So we want to make sure that Xcode, our Xcode account, is also connected to GitHub. So firstly, set up your GitHub account. And then once you have your GitHub account set up, let's open up Xcode. Let's jump into Xcode settings and go to accounts. And on the left here, you're probably going to have your Apple ID account that you already have.
All right, let me open up Xcode real quick. I'm using the beta, the new beta, but I'll do this. I'm just gonna do this off screen because of my account stuff, in case, you know, it's shared or something. I don't know. I can't remember how it works. Gotta add my Apple account as well. Flamingo. Oh, another streamer I watched had the same time difference. Gonna head out. Oh, really? Keep it going. Good luck. I will keep going. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Evan. Much appreciated. See you later, buddy.
Set up. But regardless whether or not you have that, we're going to click the plus down here, and then we're going to find our GitHub account. So go down to GitHub, click continue.
Oh, hello, Big Task. Good. How are you? Oh, you're at... Wait, how come you straight away got that third badge there? Oh, you're number 2 now. You just beat out Not Nile. But Enigmatic is like top at the moment leaderboard. You just get points for chatting, so
So first we need to add in our account.
apparently get points for chatting, super chats, gifts. Apparently there's some I didn't even realize there was a gifts thing, but yeah, apparently there is. Maybe it seems to be limited on how many chats you do. Like you can only get a max of 75 XP or something. I don't know. It's new. It's a new thing for everyone.
So this is going to be your GitHub username, whatever.
Wait, I don't have this add GitHub thing. Where is it meant to be? A source control add account. Oh, it's separate. Okay. There we go. GitHub. What's my name again? Swift Hacker 2 0?
Just made it. I
One?
think you can also use your email here, but start with your GitHub username, and then we're going to need a personal access token.
Oh no,
So you're going
it's
to go back into GitHub, you're going to go
5.
to the settings in GitHub, wherever it is, and then there's a tab for developer settings.
Trying to figure out a quicker way to change the value of an item in my list. Oh, nice, nice. You're working, huh?
And the developer
Good.
settings has a personal access token.
Okay, I gotta get this personal access token.
We're going to use the classic tokens here. We're going to generate a new token, make it a classic token for now. So when you go to create this token, you're going to want to name it. I usually try to just be very explicit, like,
How do I do that? How do I do that?
you just made it. I think you can also use your email here, but start with your GitHub username.
Oh, it's here. Nice, there's a button for it. A name.
And then we're going to need whatever it is, and then we're going to need a personal access token. So you're going to go back into GitHub, you're going to go to the settings in GitHub, wherever it is, and then there's a tab for developer settings. And the developer settings has a personal access token. We're going to use the classic tokens here. We're going to generate a new token, make it a classic token for now. So when you go to create this token, you're going to want to name it. I usually try to just be very explicit, like, Nick's personal MacBook, Xcode. So this is my personal MacBook, not my work MacBook, and this is going to be for Xcode on my Mac. This is just a token so that GitHub has authentication, knowing that it is actually you trying to push and pull. Expiration, Expiration is how often do I need to refresh this token? This gets really annoying. I guess 30 days is like a security measure. So every 30 days, you have to come in here and generate another token and then update that token in Xcode. So that's what this is saying. How often do you want it to expire? So you have to create a new one. So I guess there's an inverse correlation here. The more secure, the lower the expiration, right? If I have to change my token every 7 days, that's pretty secure. Chances are, even if somebody were to like hack it or steal it, 7 days later, I'm going to fix it. So GitHub's
Huh.
recommending us to make this 30 days. I personally make this like 1 year because I don't want to come in here and I don't think anybody's hacking my Xcode. But I want to tell you guys how long to make it. I would go maybe 90 days for now if you're just starting. Select scopes. This is going to basically ask you, what do you want this token to be allowed to do?
I'm gonna go 1 year as well. What? Can I not? Oh my god. There you go.
Because you can restrict different tokens to different things. So you can imagine if you're adding your token to some special API service on the internet and you only want it to be able to do very specific thing like read only or write only. You can come in here and you can check. You can come in here and you can check only the things that you want it to be allowed to do. Generally, especially if you're just starting, I'm going to check everything. Let's just say this account, my personal account, has access to everything on GitHub that we're allowed to do. So I'll just check all of these.
Oh, check everything to allow it to do all of this. Okay. Oh my god, is there not a check all button? All right. Whoops. Whoops. Okay.
And I wish there was a select all button. That would be nice, GitHub.
Oh, I literally
And
just
then
said that.
generate token. And when you generate the token, it's going to give it to you one time, but you're not going to be able to see it again. So make sure you copy it, paste it into Xcode, and then sign in. And hopefully that does connect.
Okay, so let me turn this off for a sec because I'm just gonna hide my code off the stream here. Okay, bring it back.
All right. After you've connected your GitHub account, it should come up here. You should see it on the left, GitHub account. And once this is set up, there is like some bug in Xcode that I want to warn you guys about. So basically, once you're connected here, I would force restart Xcode. So quit it and open it back up. Sometimes when you're signing into these accounts, for some reason, it doesn't immediately work. So it's a good idea, I think, once you just connect it, restart Xcode just to give it a fresh slate. The last thing we're going to do here in setting this up is just go to the source control tab. There's a Git. We want to make sure that enable source control is checked. That should be checked by default. And then in the Git tab here, when we go to actually
Where is this?
just to give it a fresh slate. The last thing we're going to do here in setting this up is just go to the source control tab. There's a Git. We want to make sure that enable source control is checked. That should be checked.
Show source control changes. Enable source control. Is that not? Does that work? Well, that's fine. I see.
By default. And then in the Git tab here, when we go to actually make these commits and then we go to actually push our data up to GitHub, how do we want that to be authored? So we can put in our name here, or you put in your username and you can put in your email. So this is basically going to be if other people are looking at your code base and other people are looking at changes, they're going to see your name and your email alongside those.
Oh yeah, can you not change that? Wait, open developer tools. Services. No. Behaviors. No. Right. So I can't control anything, I think. Oh well. Why is this so small? Okay.
Changes. The purpose here is for like teams, right? So that you can see who should I reach out to about this code. So this is where you're going to set up your author status. If it is just you working in a project, it's really not going to matter. But just put in your name, put in your email, and you're going to see this come up when you commit your changes later. There's a space in Xcode to ignore files. So later when we start pushing and pulling all of our files from GitHub, there's going to be some files in some projects that we actually don't want to be saving. We don't want them to be pushing and pulling every time. And so then we can ignore them here. There's also something called a git ignore file, which we will talk about in a future video, where we can also, it's a second way of ignoring files. This way is specific to Xcode, but the git ignore is more general for the Git project, not just taking into account Xcode. And the last thing we're going to talk about here is using a GUI. So basically, right now we've set up GitHub. It's a remote repository for all of our code. And then separately, we're going to have a local repository for our code. So on my computer, I'm going to have a version of my project. And on GitHub, I'm going to have a version of my project. And every time I want to save my version, I'm going to push it up to GitHub. And every time I come back to the project, I'm going to pull down the most recently saved version from GitHub and pull it back down to my local computer. So this way, if user 2 or someone else on my team saves to GitHub, I can then pull down their changes. So when you're sharing code between developers, it's not that user 1 is sending code to user 2. It's that user 1 is going to save code to GitHub, and then user 2 is going to see that the GitHub repository got updated, and they're going to pull it down to their local computer. So think about it as the source of truth between the developers. So it's always going back to GitHub. There's no arrow between user 1 and 2. It's not an email where you're sending your data from 1 to 2. We're going to push it up to GitHub. This person's going to pull it down from GitHub. We're going to push it up to GitHub. This person's going to pull it down to GitHub. So the next thing we're going to talk about now is using a GUI, a Git
Makes
user
more
interface.
sense,
And the reason this
obviously.
is relevant is because when we are doing these pushes, like sending the data up to GitHub, pulling the data from GitHub, there's a ton of other commands other than just pushing and pulling. But when you're doing these processes, there's a lot of work. It gets really confusing, and there's a lot of things that can go right as well as things that can go wrong. And sometimes it is easier to use a third-party tool to help manage this process. So what we're talking about now is basically when I'm user 1 and I want to push the data up to GitHub, or I want to pull the data from GitHub, what service am I using, or how am I doing this arrow here? How am I pushing? How am I pulling? And there's basically many different tools that you can do this. So if I open up Xcode and I go to the Integrate tab, there actually is a source control list of actions here. This tab on older versions of Xcode was actually called source control. So within Xcode, there are actions I can take to do exactly this, to push it, to pull it, etc. So for most cases, for most developers, Xcode works. We can use the source control within Xcode. That doesn't do everything, but it does most of the stuff that most projects and developers and teams need. We're going to go through the user interface, but when we get into it, the actual interface of interacting with source control within Xcode is fairly limited. And if we compare it to other alternatives, there's actually other alternatives that are significantly easier to use than Xcode's. So that's what we're going to talk about now. So alternatives to using Xcode source control. So firstly is the old school way of using Git. Before Swift was even a language, before Xcode was even a thing, the original way of performing Git actions was actually in the terminal. So you could open up your terminal and you could run Git commands from the terminal. So when you wanted to push your code from your local repo to the remote repo, you go in the terminal, you could change directory to your project, and then you call git push, and it pushes it to GitHub. And that works. The problem is using the terminal is difficult. And it's definitely not as easy as using Xcode, where you can just say, hey, integrate push, right? Obviously, this is much easier, much more convenient than using the terminal every time. And so in this series, I'm actually not going to use the terminal at all, frankly, because I actually don't use the terminal on a day-to-day basis. There are plenty of YouTube tutorials on how to use the terminal and how to use Git on the terminal, but frankly, I think it is harder to learn Git through the terminal than using these other user interfaces. So we're going to primarily use Xcode's interface for source control, but we're also going to use a third-party interface called Git Kraken. So let's get cracking. So I have a link below to Git Kraken. If you use it, it's my affiliate link. I guess we both get a chance to win a $100 Amazon gift card if you sign up through my link. But Git Kraken is a GUI. In my mind, it's the best GUI on the market for being actually visible user interface for actually seeing what's happening in your project. So click on that link below and you can sign up for free through that link. And then you should be able to have access to a free version of Git Kraken. I'm going to talk a little bit about this before we move forward. Firstly, Git Kraken is not the only GUI on the market. If you go and you Google best GUI on the internet, you're going to get a bunch of articles. Here's one from Git. Basically, GUIs is a Git user interface. Think of it as if I use the terminal and I call git push or something like this, I can't actually see what's happening here. I have no idea what's happening other than the output that is in the terminal. And a GUI is literally a UI, a user interface for this. So it lets me see exactly what is happening in the source control. That's what a GUI client does. And so I think the idea is that eventually Xcode's GUI will be so good that we don't need a third-party one. But as that stands today, it is not the case. And so there's a bunch of other really popular GUIs that basically just do all the stuff that you can get through Xcode, all of this stuff, they make it more user-friendly, they make it easier to use, and there's actually more tools in these GUIs than available. So a popular one is GitHub Desktop. Another really popular one is SourceTree. This one is actually free. But my favorite one that we're going to use is Git Kraken. Tower is also becoming really popular as well. It's also a paid one. This is a place where when I was first learning how to code, I thought it was crazy to spend money for a GUI. Now that I know how to use Git and the power of the GUI, this is quite literally the first thing that I purchase every year. It is the most important software tool that I pay for, hands down. I'm not getting paid if you guys sign up for
Really?
GitKraken. In fact, it's actually free for you guys to sign up. But I highly recommend paying for this because as you guys are going to see in the course here, Git and source control is your best friend. And being able to really have a good grasp on Git will save you thousands of hours a year. It will save you so many problems that you might have in terms of merging, in terms of pushing and pulling and knowing what is happening in your repo. Like if you're following my channel, I have never recommended purchasing a single thing on my channel to date. This is the first thing that I would highly recommend for anybody if you can afford it. There are free alternatives. You can use GitHub Desktop, you can use SourceTree, but personal experience, knowing what I know today, most of you are going to fall into the bucket right now of, I don't need this, I'm not going to pay for it. We're going to go through this course, and eventually you're going to realize, wow, I probably should have paid for it. So I'm telling you right now, this is
Okay.
something that I
Well-
highly recommend, and I very rarely recommend people to sign up for things. But if you don't know source control or Git, this will help you become an expert within days. So my recommendation here is sign up, even if you're not going to actually pay for it, although I recommend you do, but sign up for free. And then once you are signed up, there should be steps on how to connect Git Kraken to GitHub. One thing I like about Git Kraken is they have pretty good docs. So there should be documentation in there on how to connect your Git Kraken to GitHub. It's very similar to what we just did with Xcode, except for Git Kraken. Then once you're done with that, download the Git Kraken app for Mac. So this is what my app looks like right now. And you can see that I have this integration with GitHub. It's all connected. And now I can open up my repos. So for example, one of my personal repos is the SwiftUI routing repo. And this is what I love about Git Kraken is how this user interface here. It's literally a visible tree diagram, and we can see how the different branches have all merged. We can see it over time. It's very easy to check out one of these old branches. I can literally just double click on one, and now I've checked it out. Now I'm on this branch. I can move up here. I can check back out to this branch. I click this button up here to push. I click this button up here to pull. There's undo and redo actions. There's a lot of really cool stuff in this product that we're going to talk about in this series that just makes it easier than using Xcode. So with that said, by the end of this video, you should have created a GitHub account, connected your GitHub account to Xcode, and then optionally created a Git Kraken account. I recommend doing all
Okay.
three if you
So I'll just create a Git Kraken account now, and apparently there's a sale. I wonder how that works. Let's sign up. Can we continue with GitHub? Wait, they use this at all these companies? Really? Oh, there's Azure DevOps, which Evan mentioned earlier. Could continue with GitHub, which would be probably easiest. Let's do that. Hello. None of these work? Right. Hello? Email? Okay. Oh, there we go. Authorize Git Kraken. So this is oh, this is yearly, right? It's a subscription. Git Kraken Pro is significantly cheaper. Desktop, wait, what? What's included? VS Code. Browser extension, web mobile. What are our options here? I don't think I'm gonna buy it right now, to be honest. AI usage, eh? Interesting. $5 a month for a year. What do you get if you Works with private repos, cloud issue tracker integration, conflict prevention. Hiccuping. Jeez. Oh my god, hiccuping. Oh my god. Gonna get some water in a second. This. Oh my god. Alright, I'm just gonna sign in here. My god. My tools. Alright, anyway, I got the account. Let me grab some water.
Don't create a Git Kraken account, you will be able to still follow this course because 90+% of what we're going to do, you can do. As we go through this course, I'm basically going to do everything 2 to 3 times. I'm going to do it once through Xcode, I'm going to do it once through Git Kraken, and then once through the GitHub website itself. So a lot of the actions, not pushing and pulling, but a lot of like the merging and things, you can actually do on github.com. So those are going to be the 3 ways that we're going to do basically everything going forward. Again, I highly recommend signing up for Git Kraken if you can afford it. This has been a lifesaver for me. It has saved me thousands of hours and headaches, and is the first tool that I actually recommend engineers to purchase. So now we should be all connected. In the next video, we're going to actually create a project. In the next video, we're going to talk about creating a project and cloning a project and look at a bunch of different ways that we can do that. Thank you guys for watching. As always, my name is Nick. This is Swiftful Thinking, and I'll see you in the next video.
Alright, next. Ugh.
Welcome back, everybody. My name is Nick. This is Swiftful Thinking, and in this series, we're learning how to use Git and source control. And in the last video, we did a lot of setup. We created a GitHub account, we created a Git Kraken account, and we updated our Xcode so that it's connected to our Git accounts. So now we're connected, we can go ahead and actually start using it in a project. So in this video, we're going to talk about how to create a repo and how to clone a repo. So the first thing we're going to do is actually create a new project and then push it up to GitHub. I think that's how most projects start, right? You start on your computer, you create a project, and then eventually you want to save it, push it up to the cloud, push it up to GitHub. The second thing we're going to cover is cloning your repo. So you can imagine that you join a project, you don't have the project on your computer yet, and you want to download it from GitHub down to your computer. So the first time when you download that project, if you're downloading the repo, meaning all of the Git files and version control that's associated with that project, that's called cloning a project. So we're going to first create a project, push it up to GitHub, then we're going to take a project from GitHub, clone it down to our local machine. I think it's pretty straightforward, so let's jump into Xcode and create a project.
Welcome back, everybody. In this series, we are learning how to use Git and source control. And in the last video, you should have already created a GitHub account and connected it to Xcode. We also created a Git Kraken account. If you have not, I will put a link below. You can sign up for free through that link, and that will be a GUI, your new best friend, for using Git and source control. So in this video, I'm assuming that you're already all set up and connected, and we're going to start moving forward here. The first thing that we need to talk about is how do we actually create a repo, and how do we actually clone a repo? So we're going to do this twice in this video. Firstly, we're going to start on our local computer with Xcode, and we're going to create a project, and then we're going to push it up to GitHub. So that's going to basically simulate most cases when you're building your own projects, you start it in Xcode and you push it up to GitHub. But if somebody else started the project or you joined a team, that project's already on GitHub, and then you're going to want to pull it from GitHub down to your local computer. That's called cloning. When you copy it for the first time down to your local computer, you're cloning it from the server, from GitHub, down locally. So when we create a new project here, it's asking us, do we want to create a new one or do we want to clone one? So cloning is what we're going to do later. We're going to start by creating our own project and pushing it to Git first. So this is the case where there is no project created already. Nobody's already started it, and I'm starting it for the first time. So I'm going to create a new project. We're going to make it an app, and I'm going to call it Swiftful Source Control. And click Next. Save it where you need to save it.
I'll just put my stretch app
And when
on
you're going
there.
to save it, the one thing that we want to make sure here now is that we have source control, create Git repository on my Mac is checked. It should be checked by default, but if you don't have it checked and you start a project and you don't have it checked, there's a button somewhere in the Integrate tab that will say create a new Git repository.
I think I didn't do this, so let's do that. Integrate, new Git repository. Create. author. Hello, Mimar.
Gambatte.
I'm trying. I'm learning something that I have to actually learn. It's not actually coding, but it's how to manage all files. So when you're working with a company, you can figure out how to upload their files to them and take the files. It's a special system for coding.
You're smart. You can do.
Oh, thank you.
But most of the time when you're creating a new project, you're going to just check this. It's going to be automatically checked, create Git repository on my Mac. And we can see here, Xcode will place your project under source control. So this basically means, we were talking in the last video about what is Git. Git is this versioning system where it's going to track all of my changes. This is saying, start tracking changes. On my computer, we're going to track all of the changes. Now let's also understand that when I'm creating my project right now in Xcode and I'm tracking changes, that is tracking changes locally. This has nothing to do with GitHub yet. Right now, I'm just creating a project on my computer, and I'm saying that behind the project, we want to put some source control so that we can monitor all the changes and all the files. So go ahead and click Create, and jump into the project. If you did it correctly, when you go to click the integrate or the source control buttons should actually be clickable now. You should be able to commit and push and pull. And if you don't have these clickable, that means that your project is not under source control. I think you could probably create a new repo. If you don't have these lit, then you need to add source control to your Xcode project locally. So now I have source control working on my local project. So when I go to make some changes and I add more padding here, we can see this little blue line appear. So if you've never seen these blue lines before, your project has probably never been under source control. But if you're seeing these blue lines, that means it's
Interesting. I don't see the blue lines on my thing right now, but for some reason I can't see the collapse arrow in this anymore. Why? Stack Overflow, I'm human. Maybe it's a bug.
under source control this entire time. So this is a good thing. We want to see these lines. And these lines are just tracking the changes. If I hover over this, we can see that this is an unstaged, and we're going to talk about changes and stage changes in a future video. Right now, we're just talking about creating the repo and cloning. So right now, I have this repo. It's under source control, but that's it. It is on my computer and it is not on GitHub. If you go to GitHub right now, you can click on your repositories and you're not going to find your project. And that's because right now, our source control is only on our computer. So now we want to create another version of this that is also on the internet. Going back to this image right here, right now, Git is only on my computer and it's not up here at all. So I can't push and pull to GitHub. I need to first create the actual repository, the repo, the clone on GitHub. When we use this term repository, I think about it as like a massive folder. So a repo is what's going to hold all of the versioning files for this project. So when people say cloning the repo, they're talking about repo stands for repository, is basically just the project with all of the files for source control bundled inside of it. That's what the repo is. So right now the repo is only on my computer and not on GitHub. And we want to copy the local version so that it's also on GitHub. So there are two copies of this project, one on GitHub, one locally. And it's actually really easy to do that through Xcode now. So up here, I can click integrate and I can click push. And you're gonna see there is no remote, meaning there is no remote version of this repo. As I just discussed, there's nothing remote yet. This is how you know you're not connected to GitHub. So we're gonna now start working with this new tab that we probably rarely worked with in Xcode if you've been following my channel, normal hub. So we're gonna now start working with this new tab that we probably rarely worked with in Xcode if you've been following my channel. Normally we're in the project navigator, which is this folder here, this blue folder, but there's actually another tab here that's called the source control navigator. So I click on this. This is, think of it the same way we think about all of our files. This is the navigator for our files. This is the navigator for our source control.
Sweet.
So right now we don't have much. We just have some uncommitted changes. we can see here a list of all of the changes. One file is content view that has an M for modified. And if I click on it, I can see those changes. What has changed in content view? It's just this padding line here is what's changed. And we're not going to worry about that again in this video, but we can see the source control from our source control navigator. If I click on repositories, I can see all of the repos. And so when I click on the remote repo, I will see that there is no remote repo for this repository. So even though we have our local repo and we're on our main branch, it is just local and it's not on GitHub. I'm going to right click the remotes and create a new remote here. So this is now going to create the project on GitHub. And if you don't have access to this, you're probably not connected to GitHub, but make sure you have your GitHub account connected here. And then you're going to name the repository. Generally, when you're naming repositories, you don't want to use special characters. So I would just use lowercase, uppercase, maybe dashes and underscores, but don't use exclamation marks and things like that. And then you can add a description here if you want. If I look at GitHub, I can see here's one of my packages, SwiftUI routing. SwiftUI routing is the name of the project. And then this is the little description, a little about section. So when you see previews of projects like this, you can see the name, SwiftUI-bootcamp, and then the description. So that's what this is asking you, your name and then your description. And you can change these later. You can come in here and you can edit the name, you can edit the description. So it's not something that's set in stone. The last thing it's going to ask you is, do you want this to be public or private? Private means only you can see it and other people that you invite into the project. So later we're going to talk about when you have a project, you can invite collaborators. So if I'm building a project and I don't want the public to see it, I just want to use it, and maybe I want one other developer to be writing code with me, I'm going to make it private, and then I'm going to invite all the collaborators that I want to work on this project. So only people I invite can see it. That's what private means. And if we really want to get into it, large companies have enterprise GitHub accounts. So this is just a personal GitHub account, but a company will have an enterprise account or a business account with a bunch of personal accounts underneath it. So there are ways where you can share a repo with a enterprise or a company. So if you have a company, you don't need to invite every single person every time. You can invite an enterprise or a company. But for most people, you're basically just deciding, do I want everybody else to see it or not? And my personal projects, so like this playlist, I'm going to make this public. If you want a potential recruiter or an interviewer to see your code, you're going to want to make that public. If you're making a personal project and you don't want to share your source code, you want to keep it hidden, maybe it's an app that you're putting in the app store and you don't want people to copy it, you want to keep that private. Lastly, remote name, just keep it as origin. So I'm going to make this public, no description, I'm going to click create. Once I do this, I should see the origin under remotes. So description, I'm going to click create. Once I do this, I should see the origin under remotes. So that tells me that I do have a remote. And you should now be able to go to GitHub and click on repositories, and you will see your new project.
Oh, there it is. Yay, it's working.
Your first project on GitHub. How exciting. SwiftUI source control. If I click on it, I can see here all of the files in my project. So it's hard to see when you first created a project, but there's actually a lot of documents that went into creating a basic Xcode project, right? We have preview assets and preview and assets folder and content view and the app, and there's other files that are not listed here. So every single file related to this project has now been pushed up and saved in a repository on GitHub. And when I look here, I can see all of those projects, all of those files. So in here, I can click on this. I can see all of those files. Here's the content view. Here's the actual code that has been pushed up here.
Can I see that? There it is. They're all there. Cool.
And just to show you guys how to use this dot goes
Success.
backwards. So if I want to go forward, then I want to go backwards and then go forwards. That's how this works. This is the GitHub Online. If you use GitHub Desktop, it looks very similar as well. But basically, I now just have all of my documents on GitHub. I'm going to quickly open up GitKraken now, and I'm going to open up a repo, and I'm going to open up and click on the parent folder of the project.
Okay. Should I download GitKraken desktop or something? Perhaps. Download Mac Apple Silicon. I like the Kraken style thing. That's fun. Okay. Here we go. I've got it installed. Let's open this sucker up. GitHub account. Authorize. Allow. Continue. Yeah. Open repository. So I have to go to the dev work. So how do I do this part?
Line. If you use GitHub Desktop, it looks very similar as well. But basically, I now just have all of my documents on GitHub. I'm going to quickly open up
Hello,
GitKraken
Vincent.
now. I'm going to open up a repo.
How's it
and I'm
going?
going to open up.
We're learning Git right now. Learning some Git that I do not know about. I know. Yeah, it is. I'm hearing more and more. And it's really important, actually, especially if you're working with companies, so I must.
Click on the parent folder of the project, and then click open.
Parent folder of the project. Okay, let me do that real quick. I stretch. Okay, open. Wait, I only have 14 days trial of this. I thought, is it not free? Oh, GitKraken Advanced, right. I don't need, well. It's fine, I don't need it. Whatever.
And GitKraken should now give us a user
Yeah,
interface
so
to see
totally
what is happening
essential,
in
right?
our source control.
It's
And
standard.
this for me is the biggest thing for source control, seeing what is actually happening behind the scenes. Because when I'm looking at my Xcode project right now, right, if I go to the source control, it's pretty obvious that there are changes because I go to this change here, but it's hard to see those changes in comparison to the rest of the source control. There is no tree diagram of what has happened. But if I look at GitKraken, really helpful, I can see here's the initial commit. So this is what's actually been saved. And then here is my current project. It's a work in progress. We see WIP here. And this means that this is stuff that is being actively, these are active changes in my version control that are not yet committed into the repo. Again, we have this one change in the content view where we added padding. And I can see in GitKraken really quickly, there's one change that has not been committed. If I click on it, I can see the change. I can see that it is unstaged, meaning it is not staged. It is not ready to be.
So what mine says too, this Kraken thing? Yeah.
Committed. We're going to talk about staging in an upcoming video, so I'm not going to get into that now. But this is the start of why we really like GitKraken, because we can see visibly what has happened here. Before we continue to move forward, though, we're going to talk about cloning. So firstly, this is all connected and it's working, but let's unconnect it and break some things to talk about cloning. So what I'm going to do is actually go into the folder where I saved my entire project here. So I have my SwiftUI source control. I'm going to highlight all of the documents related to it. I'm going to right click and I'm going to move them to the trash. All right, don't allow. I'm going to close out of Xcode. Probably should have closed Xcode first. And then you'll notice that GitKraken has also disappeared. And so right now, let's pretend like I don't have this project anywhere. If I try to open it, it is not saved locally. I don't have anything saved for that project. So most of the time when you join a company, you join a team, there's already a project on GitHub. So I can see the project here on GitHub, but I don't have it locally. So how do I get the remote repo back into my Xcode? So there's a couple ways to do it. The first way, we can come to the repo. We can literally click open with Xcode. Now I want you guys to just recognize here that if I click download zip, that's going to download all the files to my computer, but it's not actually opening up this remote repo. So you can download zips for like small projects that you're not really actually going to be working with the source control. But if you want the source control, you either need to clone or open up with Xcode. So now I'm going to open up with Xcode. I'm going to open Xcode and I'm going to do it in the exact same spot where I just saved it. It doesn't really matter if it's the same spot or not, but I'm now basically creating a copy of the remote repo on my local computer. So you'll notice when you click this button here, it says clone. It is creating another copy of the repo. You're not changing any files here. You're not committing updates. You are creating a second copy on your local computer of the remote version. So right now we have the project on GitHub only and not on my computer. And I'm now taking the base repo, copying it onto my computer. That's called cloning. So I'm going to clone it onto the computer. So now when I open this up, I should be able to see that I'm inside the source control. So I have the same project here. You'll notice that our second padding is not in the project because we never actually committed it. We never actually saved that change. And when I click on the source control, we should be able to see the repo. So I open this up here. I'm on the main branch and there is a repo that we're connected to. The integrate, all this is connected. So it was super simple. And honestly, I love that GitHub has this button to open with Xcode. I'm going to actually close it one more time. I'm going to, again, delete this entire project. I'm going to come back into here. Another way to do this, HTTPS cloning, I can copy this URL. I can open up Xcode. I can click clone right here from the recents menu, or I can click integrate clone. You paste in the URL and click clone. going to ask you where you want to save it. You can save it back to your local spot. One final way that I like to do this is actually through Git Kraken. So in Git Kraken, we can click clone a repo. Same thing, we're going to clone from github.com. And what I really like here is if I'm connected to GitHub already, I can actually just search for the remotes that are already connected to my GitHub. So I can see here all of my projects. I will search for source control, open that one up, and clone the repo.
Oh, that's cool.
Let's open up the repo quick, and we can see that we now have our source control locally. So we can see all the files that have been committed into the project so far, and we have our initial commit.
But
and I'm going to open up the project that we just cloned. Again, if anything has gone wrong, your folder would not look like this. So make sure that you have the actual project here and then the Xcode project file as well. And at a high level, we have now set up our remote repo and our local repo. And we can already start to see the benefits of this. You could imagine a place where you're working on your computer and your computer breaks. Maybe you pour water on it, you spill your coffee on it. You don't want all of your project and all of your changes ever to only be saved on your own computer. So now my computer breaks, I now know I at least have another version of everything I've been working on in the remote repo. So this is great for sharing code between people, but it's also just great for single developers because you now have a backup. You have a place on the internet where all your stuff is saved in case something breaks on your computer or something goes wrong. You have a version here. So at any time throughout this life cycle,
that was actually so scary. I had all my files on my computer, and then the spill, and then I thought, oh my god, I'm gonna lose all my my stuff. Shit.
I could delete the entire project from my computer and it wouldn't make a difference for me because I know everything that I've been doing has been saved up to the remote repo and I can clone that whenever I want. So that is it for this video. We learned about how to create a project and then push it to GitHub, as well as clone a project from GitHub back down to our local Xcode. Again, if you are in the project, you should be able to see now the project navigator. You should be able to see the local branches as well as the remote repo. And on your GitHub, you should actually have the repo as well. In the next couple of videos, we're going to actually start versioning and actually using the source control now that we have it set up. Thank you guys for watching. As always, my name is Nick. This is Swiftful Thinking, and I'll see you in the next video.
All right. I'm going to take a little break here because I'm starving.
Welcome back, everybody.
So I'm going to continue this a little bit later, so I'll probably be back on the stream. Got a couple other things to do. But, yeah, if you're around, you guys, feel free to pop back in. We'll definitely be here streaming. I should get outside as well today and have a walk. It's actually pretty nice. So I might do that before I come back and just refresh my mind. So nice to see you, Vincent. Big task, and you, all you others. I'll catch you perhaps later today or tomorrow morning. Maybe even tonight. I don't know. We'll see how we go. All right, guys. Have a good one. Bye.